two,
1.
monkey bars. Podcast.
You have the floor.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Thicc podcast. My name is Alex,
My name is Jesse.
aka Thicc,
And Butter.
and this is episode 70.
Big 70.
Holy crap!
That's so cool.
Another
It's so cool.
decade. another.
Another 10. What do you
Another
got?
10.
Do you call it?
Yeah, I don't know what you call that.
Oh, dude, there's a word for this, and it's really simple because there's a word for like the European like number units going by tens. You know what I mean? How like and how America's. So there's like a word for that, and I think it would apply to this situation.
Yeah.
We'll just say
it would apply, but we don't know it.
we don't know it. Yeah.
We'll
We'll call it a pickle. We've done another pickle, folks. We've done 7 pickles.
So if you guys, before we get started, I just want to say episode 69 is up on the YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're talking about Dinosaur, which
is our favorite movie of
we
the
got
year.
a couple responses on the YouTube and our Instagram, but apparently people watch this movie with their kids. I was not one of them. I think you're going to be dumb to find out when they listen to the episode. They're like, oh, these guys hate this movie. Just keep in mind that we did not grow up with Dinosaur.
Yeah, we don't have much
we don't have
nostalgia.
The nostalgia for Dinosaur. We're picking apart the historical inaccuracies of the movie. A little intoxicated. So keep that in mind. But just wanted to say, subscribe if you haven't already on the YouTube. If you're watching this, subscribe on the Apple Podcast. Follow us on Spotify. Follow us on Instagram if you want some updates on the podcast and when we post a new episode. Artwork made by Jesse, goofy photos every once in a while. It's a good time.
Yeah, have fun.
We're close to 100 followers on the Instagram, so
which is really cool. We're really close
there.
Please
get us there.
We also have a Twitter, which I'm thinking about beefing up.
We'll start. I don't know how to tweet. I don't know what to tweet. I don't know like what we would do on Twitter, but
you have to give me the account information so we can double team experiment with stuff.
Okay, I will.
There's another significant factor about this episode, which it's cool that it's episode 70 because it is also our anniversary episode.
That's right. Yeah.
They were recording it, which is, I'm not going to say the date, is not well, it's the 24th. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
I was like, privacy. It's like everyone knows where we live. They know our
they practically know our social security number.
Yeah.
That's the one thing we haven't given away on this podcast.
But the 24th is not the anniversary, but the 29th is the anniversary, our anniversary.
Yeah.
Which is when we released our first episode,
our
favorite movies so far.
2018.
So
this is our 2-year anniversary of doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. It's crazy.
It doesn't feel like it at all.
Yeah, I don't think we celebrated our 1-year anniversary.
Well, I think we were in school and we forgot. Like it just didn't. It just flew past.
Yeah. We were doing it in school. It was more. I feel like when we were doing it in school, it was more like a getaway. It was more like, get away from our friends. We don't want to talk about movies because that's all we want to talk about.
Yeah.
That's all we know.
And I feel like we released it if we were lucky, every 4 weeks or something like that. Is what it seemed like.
That too, yeah. Wasn't as
So it is.
consistent.
So it's like we went from having 30 by the end of the school year to doubling that in 2
I
months.
know, that's crazy. That's pretty
Yeah,
impressive and cool.
it's pretty cool. It is pretty impressive. Thanks, Pandy.
Thanks, Pandy. Before we got on air, we were talking about the Fleet Foxes new album, which
Yeah.
I don't know
Surprise
if you guys,
dropped.
I don't know if people are listening to this or fans of the Fleet Foxes, but they're a what would you call them? Rock
Indie
folk,
folk?
indie
Yeah.
folk,
Yeah.
rock folk, prog folk.
Experimental indie folk
Yeah,
with a smattering of all kinds of other neat tricks
right. And
and heaven.
so, yeah, and they're like one of our favorite bands. And they surprise released a new record. We were talking about that a little bit. Um, go give that a listen. If you haven't.
Yeah.
You like
It's called
heavenly music?
Shore.
It's called Shore. Shore.
Like the water shore.
It's a great album to listen to during the pandy, for sure. I know that, you know, it lifted my spirits, I'll tell you
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It made me super happy, even though some of the songs would be very, like, sad, but,
Yeah.
it's such an uplifting, heavenly, amazingly sounding album
Yeah.
that I would recommend to anybody.
The other thing to recommend that's a supplement to the album is Robin Pecknold's also a really cool and smart guy. And
Yeah.
there's this interview, which I think I sent you, that a lot of my friends who've also been Fleet
Oh
Foxes
yeah, I
fans have
wanted
been
to talk
talking
to you
about
about
it.
that.
It's the Pitchfork album, the interview that he did, I
Yes.
think. And
Yeah.
it's actually, it's really, I found it very meaningful because not only is it really cool because he dissects some really cool stuff about the making of the music and his thought
Right.
process about it,
Yeah.
it's also a really great reflection and capturing of what it's like to be a human
Yeah.
during money.
Yeah.
So I think that even if you don't like learning about production stuff, that you would get something out of it if you
Right.
read it. And it's just great to read alongside listening to the album.
It's also Robin Pecknold is he's the mastermind behind Fleet Foxes.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you guys might know the name Flowertown Misty. He was
Mm-hmm.
also he's left the band, obviously.
Yeah.
He might be the bigger than Fleet Foxes.
I think he is bigger than Fleet
Um,
Foxes.
and I'm a massive Flowertown Misty fan too. We saw him live
Yeah, that was
two
so
years
cool.
ago. 2 years ago to this weekend, actually, I think.
You're kidding.
I got
Seriously?
him 3 years ago, actually. We saw him 3 years ago,
Wow, that's crazy.
2017, I think. The end of 2017.
Dude,
Um,
that was a
Great
great show.
concert. He's a fantastic performer. Um, and but he was part of the band at one time,
He
so
was
we
the
know that
drummer
name. Yeah, he was the drummer and
backup
background
vocalist.
vocalist. Yeah, and so, but I think the one that you sent me was I read the Pitchfork one, but I
Yeah.
also read the Vulture one.
Is that what I sent you?
I think so because
Okay.
in it, I wanted to like. There's something that you said that he talked about Post Malone and like
Yeah.
Taylor Swift
Yes,
and that.
that's the one. That's the one I
There's
think is
actually
great.
I read that and I was actually like really fascinated by what he said,
Yeah.
like about like pop music almost in this day
Yeah,
and
yeah,
age.
yeah, yeah.
And like I thought it was super fascinating because it's something that you and I had talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Where Robin had this amazing. He was asked something like, "Oh, what do you think of these kind of pop artists kind of crossing genres or something?" Right?
Yeah.
That was the question. And Robin said that it's really like he talked about Taylor Swift's new album, kind of folklore, which is great. I actually, if you're a fan of Fleet Foxes, I would recommend the new Taylor Swift album. To be honest, I think it's really good. But she did, but he talks about that, talks about Post Malone and how these people are almost post genre in a way.
Yeah, I love that.
They are they are kind of making music that the genre doesn't define you anymore in this
Yeah.
age, and it's really interesting because that's something that I have been attracted to, like Post Malone. That's one of the things that attracts me so much to him, and I think a
Yeah.
lot of people why he's so successful is that he, weirdly enough, Fleet Foxes is Post Malone's favorite band, which is kind of a weird connection.
Yeah.
But um, and
Which
one of the
would
things that appeals to me so much about him is his cross genre blending of
yeah.
rock, of trap music, of R&B music, of sometimes folk music with the
Yeah,
songs like
right.
"Stay" and "Weird Dogs and Bentleys" and pop music, and he makes whatever he wants to make.
Yeah.
He's not defined. That's why I hate it. I have gotten to the point now. If Post Malone is called a rapper, I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
He's
right.
not a rapper. Sure, he's rapped in songs, but he's not a rapper traditionally.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point.
They're putting labels on him, which is like I mean, like he, so I thought that was actually very interesting and a very
Yeah.
cool insight into like what the music landscape now.
I think that I was totally that's one of the biggest thing that just grabbed me the most, and I just love hearing about what influences artists have in general, but that's really what
Yeah,
stuck out to me because it's so true. And my theory is I think this is happening because of the advances in recording technology,
yeah,
because
sure, yeah,
because it's so much easier to record music just for people. A lot of people are probably familiar with this now because you see it with Billie Eilish. You get
yes,
so many great interviews that are sort of decoding the process. But basically what has happened is that people don't need a big studio anymore to record music. You
well,
can do it with a super simple setup and create really professional things with not very expensive
no,
equipment at all. And
no,
it's not just that you can do it. It's not like you can just record music. It's that you can record just as good music. And that's
right,
you're not that it's crazy.
yeah,
So when you have that, like when you imagine if you're in a studio and you're Taylor Swift or something, why would you experiment with trap drums when you have a really great drummer who did a
mm-hmm,
great drum track for your last hit single and can do the
right,
same thing again? Why would you experiment with a different type of drummer, because you would have to go and hire someone else, all that shit,
right,
or buy a new synthesizer or hire someone who knew how to produce trap beats and things like that. But now there's two things is that it's so easy to experiment because you have like let's just try a trap beat in here because we have that sound file
totally,
on my garage band and we'll just
right,
try it under this and see what it sounds like. And
right,
in addition, without the pressures of producers and all bunch of other people influencing the songwriting process about what needs to happen to make the next big hit, artists can just sort of decide like, well, fuck it, we'll try this. Seems
yeah,
kind of cool. And I think it's
yeah,
awesome. I love this. I love this. Fuck it, let's
yeah.
experiment. Let's see what
But
happens.
also, I think to that point too, I think the internet itself and streaming and
Yeah.
access to music
Yeah.
has opened people to more genres and more. I mean, look at the biggest hit of 2019, "Old Town Road."
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, that was a song that was a meme song. He did it for as a joke almost and for
Yeah.
fun, but it was actually an interesting blending, right, of trap music, R&B, and country music, which is
Yeah.
like unheard. Like no one's ever tried to cross those genres, and that was the biggest song of 2019.
Yeah.
Shit like that is exciting in terms of there's room to experiment now. You can
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
people will listen to something that is different and
Yeah.
new
That's a
and
great
unique.
point. That's a great
That's
point.
cool. You don't have to. Do I think Old Town Road is the best song of 2019?
No.
No, but
But it's
I
like it's
appreciate how experimental it was, and it's a
yeah.
fun song.
And I think the point you're getting at is it's so much different now. Again, with this improving technology and with the access to the internet, it's so much easier to try out something new than it used to be, because it used to
Right.
cost money to
Well,
try
also,
something
yeah,
new.
like Old Town Road, exactly. He just put that on the fucking internet, and
Yeah, people could watch it on YouTube. You don't
it
even have to turn
became
on
a
the
meme.
radio.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like it wasn't even like it gives you the idea where, like, if you're working with a record label or put a single on vinyl or put it on the radio, I think you're gonna be more hesitant to be like, should we put out this trap country crossover because it might absolutely flop and we might lose a lot of money on this song.
Yeah.
But now it's like it doesn't cost anything to put it on SoundCloud or
Yeah, right.
anything.
Right.
So it's like I think
Right.
it's exciting that all these artists are like just experimenting with shit. That's why it's cool if someone like as huge and as you know accomplished as someone like Taylor Swift, who has many hits under her belt, who can work with
Yeah.
anybody, will choose to make like a folk album and work with people like Bonnie Bear and work with all these like really well respected like producers in that scene, indie folk scene,
Yeah.
and make a really compelling album. Like
Yeah.
that's cool. It's sick.
Yeah. You know,
That
this
might have not have
that's
happened 15 years ago.
dude, yeah, it definitely would not have. It's just there's no question it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about something that Eva always asks me about, which makes me laugh because we're always listening to music and she asked me, "Is this lo-fi?" And it's a
Lo-fi. Yeah.
really hard question to answer
That is
because
in this day and age, it's super hard to answer.
which
Yeah, you're
which is
absolutely right.
exactly for this problem because of this genre postmodern morphing that we
Right.
has, because lo-fi means low fidelity, meaning low quality
Yeah.
music,
Right.
which
Right.
started with like low quality sounding musicians like Daniel Johnson's, who, if you
Yeah.
guys haven't heard about listened into that guy, I highly recommend it. It's a
Or
very
Phil
interesting.
Elbrum,
Yeah,
the microphones.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And all that stuff
And
is
also,
literally
lo-fi hip hop is major,
exactly
major, major,
exactly
major. I mean, hip hop was lo-fi when it started.
Yeah, yeah. And so you have this interesting thing where lo-fi literally means poorly recorded,
hmm
but now it's changed to, you have shit like Igor, which has the lo-fi
Exactly. That's what I was gonna
sound,
say, man.
but
That's
it's
exactly
produced
what I
as
was gonna say.
fuck.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
high
yeah, yeah,
produced. So it's like, is
yeah.
this lo-fi? Yes, but not literal lo-fi.
No,
This is
I
just
mean
the
that's one
genre
of the
lo-fi
that was one of the
developed.
funniest criticisms or like memes behind that album was like people would be like, "Oh, it's poorly recorded." Like, no, you're just stupid,
Yeah,
because like, did you listen to Flower Boy? Flower Boy is incredibly well recorded. It's
yeah,
full. It's a stylistic choice to
yeah,
to be lo-fi. He's recording it to have that lo-fi
yeah,
quality sound to it. It's not like he can't record. And yeah, but you're right. It's super well produced. It's not
yeah,
like you can't hear. It's
yeah.
really really well mixed.
Yeah,
It's
and
just mixed
the
in a
other
way
thing
that
that when you have it come out where people put on like music reviews come out and they call this like lo-fi music,
hmm
and that idiot sees it, then
right.
yeah, well, I'm going to talk to you. So I'm talking to the idiot here, this imaginary idiot. It's like, there's also a character. There's a point about this. We're missing some information, because when you listen to everything through your phone speakers, then everything's
Yeah,
lo-fi,
right. Yeah,
dumbass.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
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 Igor is lo-fi when you listen to it through your phone
yeah.
speaker.
That's another
You
big
know,
thing. Yeah, that's actually so right. But I feel like a lot of people like. Yeah, I mean, like things sound better on speakers. They
yeah,
do. People listen
yeah,
to music on speakers or really nice headphones.
yeah,
Most of the people listening to this have cars. If you're gonna
yeah,
listen to music,
yeah,
listen in a car, man.
yeah,
It's just the better surround sound, and just like don't listen to it through your fucking shitty earbud.
yeah,
Or if you really want to get the full experience of music, listen to it through speakers.
yeah,
That's just
yeah.
the way that it was meant to be listened to.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
man.
actually,
Yeah, man.
I read something really weird that you'd be interested in. I read that To Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick Lamar's masterpiece,
Yep.
was the guy who mixed that album. I read that his technique was he bought the shittiest speaker that he could find, like the
Yeah.
shittiest garbage speaker, and mixed the entire album coming out of this one horrible speaker. And his philosophy was, if I could make it sound good on this shitty Walmart
Yeah.
$20 speaker, it will sound amazing like everywhere.
Yeah.
And he mixed this masterpiece album on this
Yeah.
like shitty speaker. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's such a funny
Yeah.
thing.
You know, that's a really I love that idea, and I love that experiment with mixing. And the one problem I see with that is that
It's not a practice that people.
yeah.
When I was reading, that's not something that a lot
Yeah.
of people do.
But yeah, but the problem with that is that that guy must be really good at mixing because
He's
he
one of the best
knows
in the world, apparently.
because if you don't know when you're mixing that when you're listening to that speaker, if you don't know that that speaker is really bad at producing low end, he needs to know to not boost it to where you can hear it on that
Yeah,
speaker,
right.
which
Yeah,
means
right.
which that's so crazy, which means that to make it, if he really did do that, that means that he mix sounds without hearing them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because he had to
yeah,
mix the bass in a way to
yeah.
say, well, I can't boost it to hear it because I
Right.
shouldn't be able to hear it on the speaker.
Yeah, that's
But I
so
need to make
crazy.
what I can hear and what I can't hear about the bass make everything else sound good so it
Yeah,
sounds good
maybe
on this
I
speaker.
think yeah, it's so bizarre.
That's
Yeah,
crazy. That's
yeah. So I
insane.
think what he was thinking about doing was that this album will sound good anywhere. Like you
Yeah.
could put it on, like it will sound good
Yeah.
anywhere you listen to it, which is like
Yeah.
crazy.
Which I mean, for anyone who's an aspiring musician who's into mixing, one of the best pieces of advice I ever had was maybe not do that extreme because that's really
Yeah,
fucking hard to do. But test your song. I'm having that problem with like songs I'm recording, like that the
yeah,
most recent song I sent you.
right.
It's like it sounds fine on my headphones. I mean,
Yeah,
I still need a lot of mixing, but through
right.
the phone speaker and other stuff, you just lose half of it. Half
Yeah,
of the instrumentals just disappear. You don't hear it, and it's like
yeah,
you don't really want that. I have a lot of problems with my mixings where it's like it sounds good on my headphones or it just sounds good on a car stereo or
right,
like on my car. Like it sounds great on your car because your car has great speakers, but my
right.
car, like if I put
Sure,
my
yeah,
songs like
yeah.
if you remember Organic Psychology, that song I
Oh,
wrote,
yeah,
which
yeah, yeah,
has
yeah,
like
yeah.
a lot of synth, a lot of bass on
Right.
it, my car almost breaks. Like my speakers
Yeah,
aren't big enough to hold
right,
those sounds. So
right.
it's really is masterful. In addition to the songwriters behind songs writing good sounding song, the
Yeah,
people along the lines who then make those songs sound good on any
yeah, it's
device that you
crazy.
listen
I
to.
mean, mixing is a whole other
Art.
art.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's people who do it.
Yeah.
It's like that's their job. Is that
Yeah.
they're a mixer.
There's people
Uh,
who are mastering who just
Mastering.
go and
Yeah,
they take
yeah,
the bounced wave file and they adjust like the levels and they get paid so much money because they make the song sound so much better with good
yeah,
masters, just make everything sound so much better.
yeah, yeah, man. But we
Music, dude.
good music, man. But like, I basically like the songs that I'm making like now. Like,
Yeah.
I've just started making music for people who haven't who don't
Baja
know.
Dave.
Baja Dave.
Debut
follow
album's
me
out
on
now.
follow me on SoundCloud. Um uh just I'm learning how to make songs. It's super fun. And but now I'm getting to the point where I'm like adding a lot more to it. Like I'm
Yeah.
adding like the song that I was working on today, like I'm adding some sub bass. And like I can't because my headphones or the way that I hear things is
Yeah.
so different than people, because I'm deaf
Yeah.
and I have go through a hearing aid. So I try not to mix on my headphones because I think that I'm not getting the left channel. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
right,
So
right, right, right.
what I'm trying to do is use my speakers the most that I can,
Yeah.
and that's how I'm kind of doing it. And
That's
then
a good idea.
I just go in the car, and then like if it sounds good in the car, I'm like, okay, this
Yeah.
will probably be fine.
Yeah.
It's hard because I don't get the, like, if I was an actual real musician that was releasing things, I would have
Yeah.
somebody else mix my music because
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not listening to music in the same way as, I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
literally the same way, but
yeah.
not to the extent of, someone like you who had two
Yeah,
ears.
yeah, 2 ears, you get 2 channels. It's a yeah, yeah, it is crazy the difference that you have. You don't think about all the benefits that you get from having, like, just 2 hearing inputs,
Yeah, right.
because it's
Yeah,
crazy what happens. Like, we're
yeah,
learning about sounds and how the human head hears and
right.
acoustics and all of that. It
Yeah,
really is quite insane. But I think for your case, like, that's a great thing about everyone having equipment, is that you can find people like that really easy, and you just need to find someone with 2 ears,
yeah.
because
I would just like if I was, I would just give it to you and be like,
yeah,
what does it sound like to you? And
yeah,
oh yeah, maybe pan this guitar or whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and
okay.
all you have to do is get really good at just recording really good mono tracks.
Yeah,
That's
right.
like that's how music started. It's just the norm to do it in
Yeah,
stereo.
right.
But it's
Yeah.
it's like, who knows? It might become trending to create music in mono
I
again.
just like
Shit like
really
that
want.
happens.
I just really want like, cause if I'm making like a hip hop song, like a trap beat or something,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want like it to like the sub bass and the 808s to like be fucking like heavy in the
yeah,
speakers.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
hard to like have that come through with headphones. I get like mixing hip hop music, like trap music, with like a lot of like bass and a lot of like um is so hard to do,
yeah,
especially for like when you're doing it for headphones.
yeah.
I would love to talk to a mixer who like mixes great shit or
Yeah,
something.
it's also hard right now because we're kind of going through a period of infamy in terms of mixing and stuff, because we're in the age of super loud, harsh compression,
Yeah.
where dynamics have basically disappeared. We don't have
Yeah.
dynamics in different parts of the songs. Like, the chorus isn't louder than the verse, or like how
Yeah.
you hear crescendos in Pink Floyd's music and all that
Yeah.
stuff,
Right.
or like you hear drum beats in that.
Yeah.
No, now what you have is you have loud and you have fucking loud, and
Yeah.
that's
Right.
it. And it's all compressed to be
Yeah.
not clipping. And
Right.
so it's interesting because again, I'm not saying that all trap and pop music is like that, but there is
Right.
kind of this plague of this sound of mixing, which has just become the norm of it, that
Yeah.
to compensate with all these sounds, it's just compressed and blocky
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would still love to know. I want to talk to Drake's mixer too. I would love to know what he does.
It's just like because like it's weird because it will sound the same in my hearing aid than in the car. Like I
Yeah.
still get that bass in my fucking little tiny hearing aid,
Yeah, yeah,
and then I still get that in the car. It's like that. There's definitely an art to doing that. It's not
yeah,
like it's crazy.
yeah,
Um. Anyway, enough of this goddamn music talk, dude.
yeah. No more jargon. Let's talk about film jargon.
So yeah, we haven't even talked about a movie yet. This ain't no music podcast. God damn it.
You're right. It's
Um.
not the name. We're the movie podcast.
Yeah.
We're
What the
we're,
fuck?
we're fucking
What are we
live.
doing,
We've been
dude?
doing this for 2 years, and we've been a lie this whole time.
Um. So this week is the film that I just look at the background. Is the film that I chose for this week. Um, and this is a film that when did this movie come out? 1990?
91, 97,
No, I think like 91. I think 90.
91.
Let's see, I have it right here.
Not
Um,
97 for sure.
it came out in 1991.
Cool.
And this is a Coen Brothers classic. Many consider it to be their first masterpiece,
Mm-hmm.
entitled Barton Fink. Uh,
Bartok,
Barton Fink.
not to be misunderstood with Bartok the Bat from Anastasia, I think.
Is that what the guy's name is in
Bar,
Anastasia?
I think so. I think it's Bartok the Magnificent.
Bartok.
Eva's a big fan of Bartok, so we talk
Okay.
about him every once in a while. Comes up in conversation. Hey,
Big
remember
fan.
Bartok?
Big
Yeah.
fan. Um, so this is one of my favorite Coen Brothers movies.
Yeah.
I saw this movie for the first time like not that long ago. Actually, I could tell you the date in which
Are
I
you
saw this for the
are
first
you looking at your
time.
letterbox?
My letterbox.
Hey,
Shout out to
which
letterbox.
yeah, while you're looking at that out, let me talk about Letterbox for a little bit
Okay.
because we're not sponsored by Letterbox, but I
Probably
really
worth it.
I like having ways to organize like the things that I like,
Yeah.
especially things I wish there was something like music, like a musical letterbox that's as good as Letterbox.
There isn't?
Not really. Like
Dude, you should
Discogs,
start it.
that's Discogs is the closest thing, but it's not. I don't find it
I
as I
saw
don't
this for
find
the
it as
first
pleasing.
time on wow. So I watched this movie on the first day of 2020, January
Oh,
1st,
wow.
2020.
Wow.
And maybe that was a indication to the living hell that
Yeah.
we're living in because this
Yeah.
movie is
Uh,
basically about
a descent into hell.
yeah. But
Yeah.
continue, yeah. But that's weird. Yeah, continue about Letterboxd
Yeah.
is dope as shit. I
Yeah,
love it. It's cool.
Letterbox is just social media like for
If
movies and
you're
you
a
can
yes,
make
if you're
lists
a
and
movie
stuff.
fan, movie fanatic, film lover,
Yeah.
gotta get Letterboxd. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
You can rate your movies, you can log them, you can review them, you can follow other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a really well laid out app. Like
Yeah.
you could there's an app integrated to it called Just Watch where if you saw a movie that you want to watch, you click that, it tells you what streaming services they're
Oh,
on,
that's great.
if it
Yeah.
is a streaming if it's on a streaming service.
Yeah.
Great.
And you
Wonderful.
can follow I follow like YouTubers. I follow Rap the Movie
Yeah, me
Maker
too. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Adam from
Right.
YMS, and they both post letterbox things, and
Right.
it's just great. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's just like Facebook without all the toxic stupid grandmas, you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
You gotta
Yeah.
love it.
It's just specialized, which is
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're gonna talk about Barton Fink, and this is the second time that I've seen this movie. And the first
Yeah.
time that I saw it, I I like loved it. I was like going through this like Coen Brothers phase where I was watching like Coen shit that I hadn't seen before, like Blood Simple and
Yeah.
Miller's Crossing. This is another fantastic this is the movie the day before this.
Hmm.
Um, and this film is about it stars John Turturro, who's been in many Coen Brothers movies, such as playing the Jesus in The
Yeah.
Big Lebowski,
Probably his most famous
the
role.
most iconic role
Yeah.
ever, probably. And
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
and and this film is about a playwright set in the 40s or 30s, right? 30s,
No, no,
40s,
40s.
40s,
1941 is when this movie opened.
and he's a playwright in New York, and he gets commissioned. He gets you know consulted to go work for the pictures in Hollywood. So he moves to Hollywood, and he gets commissioned by Capitol Pictures, which is a recurring uh, studio in the Coen Brothers universe. I don't know if you
Oh,
knew
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
in I believe it's definitely in Hail Caesar for sure, Capitol Pictures.
Mhm.
And it's definitely in I think the HUD Sucker Proxy. I might be wrong about that, but I think it's in one of their other movies.
And
Anyway,
this is an Imagine studio.
yes, this is not real, yeah, Capitol Pictures. And and so he was commissioned to write a wrestling film, a
Yeah.
B-movie wrestling film. And what this movie is kind of about is it is a surreal kind of um satire, um kind of dark tale about writer's block.
Yeah.
Um,
Similar to adaptation. Similar
similar
to
to
Adam.
adaptation, I kept thinking about that. Is
I was
that
too.
this
Yeah.
is a there's a lot of similarities to adaptation, and I am fascinated by this movie. I
Yeah.
absolutely think this movie
Yeah.
is, and this is also the first time that the Coens teamed up with Roger Deakins, who
Oh
is
yeah, which is a legendary pairing.
legendary pairing. It was the first time that they worked together, and by God, this movie looks amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
Roger Deakins.
Eva walked in and she was like, "Wow, this is beautiful."
Yeah, I mean, Roger Deakins is one of the um, most accomplished and best cinematographers ever. So,
So much so that I feel like a lot of when you're being taught in school about what a film should look like, Roger Deakins cinematography is sort of
mhm,
just the staple
totally.
film look. Because there's a
Yeah.
lot of people like David Lynch has his look, his stylistic look, but Roger Deakins has
Oh yeah.
the
Oh
film
yeah.
look.
But what I love about Deakins, just let's talk about cinematography and how great this movie looks. This movie has this awesome, like this movie was very influenced by things like The Shining and
Hmm.
a couple Roman
Definitely
Polanski
got those
movies like
vibes.
Repulsion and stuff
Mm.
like that. And what I love about Deakins is that you can watch this and you can watch another masterpiece in terms of cinematography, Blade Runner 2049, and he can adapt. He's such a great cinematographer in the way that he adapts to the director's style. The
Yeah.
Coens have a very unique style of directing, clearly, and the
Yeah.
way that he adapted to their kind of wide angle kind of style, this close up, this a lot of sweeping camera movements, which are very reminiscent of The Shining.
Yeah.
The way that you know, he's a master. He's amazing. The
Yeah.
lighting of this movie is fucking awesome. It's unbelievable. This film is shot on 35 millimeter, and the aspect ratio is like it's not wide. It's not widescreen. It's not
Yeah,
full screen.
I had it mine my version had like the full screen, like where no
Oh,
black
okay, okay,
bars.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but but it gives this film has such a awesome look to it. It is
Yeah.
such a it feels like it was made in kind of the 40s, and it has this
Yeah.
really great film filmic style to it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I had never seen this movie before, and I love the Coen brothers, and I was completely blown away when I saw
yeah,
this.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
movies when I watch about writer's block, like adaptation.
yeah, right,
I loved adaptation, but I think I don't know. This resonates with me even more than adaptation
yeah,
thing did in a
right,
way.
right,
You really, it's not really fair to compare the two. That's not really like they're just two such different movies. And the reason why I like this is that it's a tier more in less surreal and abstract than
right,
adaptation. And
yeah,
adaptation is one of those things where you can watch like every 5 years. And this is
yeah,
a movie where it's like I could watch every single day of the week and I would love
yeah,
watching it every single day of the week. And and I felt like I wanted to do that. I love movies like
yes,
that, and
yeah,
that's the wonderful magic of Coen Brothers is that they create these, and this is just a pinnacle of this, these
yeah.
intelligent scripts that are both like really challenging and engaging, but so entertaining.
So
And
entertaining. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
this movie just had all of that.
This movie is so.
It was
This
so
movie
cool.
is so. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And also, this is one of the. I also wanted to say that this is one of the only films in film history to win the Palme d'Or, the Best Actor and Best Director at the Cannes Film Festival.
Wow. Wow.
So if you guys are fans of art cinema, definitely
Yeah.
check this movie out.
Yeah, so that's cool. This is another Palm d'Or where we're kind of
Yeah,
going
yeah,
through.
yeah. But so yeah, so
Let's get
let's
into
kind
it,
of delve
buddy.
into this movie. And
Yeah.
another thing that I do love about this movie before we kind of talk about
Yeah.
it is that this is there are the Coens famously are very they don't talk about they don't explain their movies. You won't find any publication I haven't that
Yeah.
talks about what this movie means or what some of the metaphors and allegories could possibly mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something that we love about films, and especially movies like this. I don't really want to know
Yeah.
what this movie was really. I like to get my own interpretation of
Yeah.
what this movie is kind of what's going on. You know,
Yeah, one of the when I was looking after I watched this, I usually tend to like look through and look at some writing about it,
yeah,
or
absolutely, yeah,
maybe just read the plot synopsis of
right,
on the Wikipedia page, just to let my brain chew on some stuff while I
yeah,
process it.
right,
And unfortunately, the first thing I looked at was one of those critics who had a fine argument. You're welcome
yeah.
to not like this movie, but just agitated me for this
Oh,
exact
it
reason
was
you're
a
talking
negative
about.
review of this movie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it wasn't like this movie sucks. It was like I didn't
Right.
like it this much, and the
Hmm.
reasoning for it was like I couldn't figure it out, and that drives me insane.
That drives me insane
It
too. But
drives
I
me
mean, I
crazy.
understand. I understand the first time you see it. You know, I can totally understand that. You know,
Yeah,
like I could. There are some people who want to go see a movie for the first time and get it and kind of walk away, and that's
yeah,
totally okay. This movie, you know, the first time I saw it, I loved it, but I didn't really have a grasp of what was going on. You know, like
yeah, yeah.
it's
Sure.
very abstract in that way, and some of the things that happen. I now watching it again, I have a little bit more of it. It's purposefully like that. It's
Yeah,
not supposed. You're not supposed to. It's not supposed to click with you immediately. You know,
yeah.
it's
That's
just not.
that's
And
why I like this movie so much,
yeah,
because it's not a story. It's not a puzzle movie like Nolan or
no, no,
Shyamalan.
no, 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 no,
It's a
no.
movie about a character's physical emotional struggle with
Yeah,
his this weird, funny, pretentious, kind of
yes,
unlikable
yeah,
writer
yeah,
who and dealing with his this emotional journey that he goes through. And I think that the way they chose that is by depicting it in this more surreal and abstract fashion, as opposed
yes,
to telling you like, which is, I don't know, is kind of sort of the whole joke in the movie too, that which is similar to the problem of adaptation, this complication of expressing something beautiful and deep and meaningful versus just telling some people, filling in the formula and
yeah,
telling
right,
people something
exactly, yeah.
that will satiate them.
I think that
um
that is one of the most fascinating things about this movie. This movie is a critique of Hollywood in a
yeah,
lot of ways. It's
yeah,
a
yeah,
critique of how like all the Hollywood execs in this movie are God, they are some of the funniest uh Coen brothers characters
I agree.
ever.
I agree. They cracked
They
me
are
up.
so goddamn funny, and they're
Yeah.
so over the top, and they feel. Well, one of the things that I love about this movie is Barton Fink, John Turturro is at the center of this, but almost all the characters around him are caricatures.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are insane. They are all
Yeah.
crazy characters, and it adds to this dreamlike,
Yeah.
off-putting movie.
Yeah.
This movie is kind of scary
Yeah, it is.
in a
It
weird way.
is. It really is.
It's definitely the Coen Brothers, other than like No Country for Old Men or something, but this is definitely their most like unsettling
Yeah.
film,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Well, I think one of the reasons for that is because the first half is just bread and butter comedy
Yes,
almost.
yeah,
And then you blend into, and you in the beginning it's awesome because you get like shining vibes and all of that, but it's just like, I'm not really that spooked. It's a
right,
hotel. It's like, come on, it's not a big deal.
yeah,
And then we have that the most Cohen brother midpoint ever with the death, that's the surprising
yeah,
death,
right,
and
right.
then the drain shot that's super creepy.
Oh
And
yeah,
we just slide
oh
into
yeah,
that horror where
oh
it
yeah,
just starts developing all this stuff, and it's
yeah,
still always a little bit has this tone of irony and comedy to it, but you're
right,
right, it's like it's a level of spookiness too
yeah.
that's really awesome.
So I'm in love with the way that this movie opens. And
Yeah,
the first time I saw it, I absolutely loved this. I just this the Coens are Joel Coen, who directs most of his movies. I don't. I mean, it says that he's credited, but I mean, like I think both of them do. But
yeah,
um, He's
I
usually
think
credited as the director, but
it seems kind of like in it reminds me of the Safdie brothers, how Benny Safdie seems to be kind of the
right.
dominant
Yeah,
director,
right. Yeah,
but
right.
they're but
Or Josh Safdie.
Josh, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
It's but they're
Yeah.
both it's the unit
Yeah,
of the
right. Yeah, right.
brothers, but
Right.
it's like there's a dominant, which is
Right.
how
Yeah, right.
collaborations work.
Especially with men, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
When two men
Well,
work together.
yeah, well,
Or
I don't know.
brothers.
Yeah, brothers more so,
Yeah.
I would say. I don't know if I agree with the men thing, but
Well,
brothers.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's just more of like there's men too to want to like just want to. There's an alpha male usually
Yeah.
in terms of whatever.
Men tend to be more competitive. That is
Yeah,
true.
100%.
Yeah.
And so so the way that this movie opens, it starts with this incredible the shot of the wallpaper, and
Yeah, I
this
love that.
this wallpaper shot, and the credits roll, and then it fades out, and then it's this train down to Barton
Yeah.
Fink backstage.
Yeah.
John Turturro in this movie is so he's iconic. He is
Yeah.
so fantastic in this movie. He's
Yeah.
so funny, and there's there's this. I mean, just look at the poster. There's this sense of like I don't even know what this just bewilderment that he
Bewilderment is exactly the word I was
had
thinking
on
of.
his
Yeah.
face throughout this entire film, and
Yeah.
it's so endearing. You love this guy, but you also he's a very pretentious character, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this movie opens with the play going on, and uh, he gets a standing ovation at the end. And one of the things about Barton's character is that he has all this success,
Yeah.
you know, and he's still like doesn't think that he's successful or doesn't he hasn't achieved true success.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he wants to open up a theater for the people, you know. But
Yeah.
all these great things are happening to him.
Yeah.
He's getting great reviews in the Herald.
Yeah. Right.
He's getting commissioned to make a lot of go to write for pictures, these B movies.
Yeah.
But all of this success and all of this are pressing on him and completely.
Yeah.
But it's not until the end of the movie where he basically finds his first failure that he actually weirdly is becomes comfortable with failure. You know,
Yeah.
comfortable. That's how I interpret kind of that scene of the movie where it's almost like I don't know. I don't know, man. It's weird because I think
Yeah.
it's all about finding success within yourself and finding
Yeah.
success within uh your own goals in life
And,
instead of what other people tell you is successful.
right. And it's once we get to more specifically the ending, because I think it's so funny that he
Oh,
has this
well,
breakthrough when he has the box, which I'll just spoil it now, which might have a human head in it,
yeah,
that he has the whole time he's writing a script. He just has this box that might just have this human head in it, and he
yeah,
busts out this script.
right,
But another thing that's interesting about these characters, and I keep bouncing back to adaptation. The interesting thing about adaptation is that it's from you are in his head, right?
yes,
That's a first person perspective where you're experiencing it, and it's a story about him overcoming his own personalities for him to succeed. But the thing that's interesting about this film is that you're not really inside Barton Fink. You're watching the character Barton Fink be Barton Fink, and it kind of goes from this position that it's, even though it is a story about him sort of, accepting his own failures and kind of moving on. Well, first of all, he doesn't have that resolution that's in adaptation, where in adaptation,
no,
he does it,
yeah,
adaptation gets made. But in
yeah,
this movie, he gets stuck in hell,
right,
he gets punished.
right,
And,
right,
but the interesting thing about it is how we're taking this more omnipotent, like bird's eye stance of Barton's life,
yeah,
which I think makes it more that the intention is to like make fun of this, which I really like about this movie
yeah,
too, is that in addition to caricatures of like Hollywood and all of that, the Coens aren't really picking sides because they're just making fun
Right.
of
Yeah.
like the crisis of the movie business. It's
Of
just like
course. Yeah. Right.
everyone's it's just like, and I think that's great, and
Yeah.
I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
still get this kind of like this emotional, satisfying progression where he still, you know, gets that classical feeling of achievement and catharsis and all that shit in
Yeah.
there
Right.
with
Right.
all this weird shit too. I
Yeah.
think that's
Right.
awesome.
Right. And so I also want to talk about when he goes to the one probably my favorite scene of the movie, most likely,
Yeah,
is when he gets to the hotel.
I love that scene.
It's
Oh my
so,
god.
first of all, it's beautifully shot. It is
Yeah,
insanely well shot, that whole
yeah.
sequence. And
Like the light beam, and he has his hat on.
yeah,
He's standing in the
oh
light
yeah,
beam. That's a
yeah,
classic
yeah.
shot.
And there's no one in the hotel. There's no one in this hotel. And he meets Steve Buscemi's character who's in this movie,
Who's so young? He's
so
so
young,
young in this.
Chet.
Yeah.
His name is Chet. If you didn't get, you didn't get that the first
My
time you
name is
watched it.
Chet.
And he comes up. It starts with this like he comes up from like the cellar, just like and he
Yeah.
walks up and he's like, and so he signs in, and it's just this eerie scene where he gets to this hotel where there's no one in this hotel, and everyone who's in the hotel seems so. It's just off. Something's
Well, yeah.
off, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like the Shining vibe. You know, you get
Yeah.
this whole
Yeah. One of the
place
weird
that's
things
big
about
and
it
weird.
is that, you know, there's this shoe shining policy that they'll do you a shoe shine like while
Yeah,
you're staying
right.
at the hotel.
Right.
So you don't see anyone but the main characters in this. Like
Yeah.
Barton Fink, you see Chet a couple of times,
And
and then
John
you just
Goodman's
see
character.
and John Goodman's
Yeah.
character, who we have to talk about John Goodman. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But the you see like when they're in the hall, it's this hotel's not abandoned like The Shining, which kind of adds a
Yeah.
different level of creepiness because
Right.
all the doors have their shoes outside.
Yeah.
So you know, like every single one of these hotel rooms
Yeah.
are inhabited, but
Yeah.
you never see anyone doing
We never
anything.
see anything. The only thing that we know is we hear the inhabitants,
Yeah,
things
right,
going
right,
on. So
right, right.
we're almost watching. We're almost for as Barton Fink. We're
Yeah,
living it
definitely,
as him. We're
definitely.
observing what he hears and what he sees, and
Yeah, yeah,
it's cool. It's adds a super eerie eeriness to it where there's mosquitoes in the
yeah.
room that
There's the
everybody keeps telling
mosquito.
him.
The mosquito is so important to the story too, which is great.
Yeah, and everybody keeps telling him that there's no mosquitoes in LA. It's like, what are you
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah,
And so all these things in the wallpaper kind of literally sweating off the walls, like all
yeah,
these things are added to Barton's kind of psychological kind of
yeah.
almost spiral.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that even though it's not clues in the way that like
Yeah,
Nolan
right.
movie setups
Yeah,
would
right,
be,
right, right.
this exposition, this thing, it is setting up what happens at the ending, you
Yes,
know?
yes,
And I think
yes.
that what is so cool about it is it's more like Lynch, where it's because the thing about these abstract movies, the really good stuff that we like, the avant-garde is more in comparison to these more abstract experimental art film stuff. The avant-garde, it might be like extremely different stuff at all the time just to
Yeah,
challenge your senses and what
yeah,
things
yes,
could
yeah,
be.
yeah,
But what's cool about this is just sort of this fixation and this meditation on these parts and this aspect of the room, you know,
hmm
that we keep returning to, and we don't quite get the importance,
yeah,
but we keep returning to throughout the whole movie, and it sort of connects and blends and
yeah,
layers, and then by the end you don't really have answers, but it all comes together still.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't know why it comes together, but it
But
just
it
kind of
do.
does.
But it do.
And so, um, I mean, oh, man, I don't know where else to go.
Do you
I
want to
mean,
start talking about like how because let's talk about how like the trajectory of the movie works, specifically
mhm.
plot wise.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because after we goes the way that this is set up is it's alternating between this recurring relationship with the only tenant that Barton knows, which is
yeah.
Charlie, who's played by John Goodman, who is an
Charlie,
incredible character,
yeah,
and then in encounters with his bosses, the movie execs,
yeah,
his
right,
producer, and
yes,
the head of the Capitol
yeah.
Productions, and
Tony
as
Shalhoub,
he's
one
yeah,
of them.
yeah, and also, and the other character is the drunk writer whose name
Yeah,
is Matthews, Matthews,
yeah,
yeah,
that's his last name.
yeah, and he's and so he goes to the writer for advice, and that turns into an important subplot, and he
Yeah,
goes to the producers for advice and just for checking in, and that's sort of like a battle and
yeah,
super
right,
hilarious. And then
yeah,
there's the things with John Goodman, which are like these moments of only moments of genuine happiness and not anxiety, where he seems
yeah,
really comfortable, is
right,
when he's with this John Goodman character.
right.
So let's start by talking about John Goodman, because
Yeah,
this was like one of my favorite performances I've seen of him.
yeah. This is one of his like most iconic performances, and definitely like a performance that is so incredible because the Charlie character has a lot of mystery behind him. Very
Yeah,
like you don't really know a lot about him. I mean, he may or may not be the Lucifer himself.
yeah, yeah. Right,
Um,
right.
and so
Or Hitler, I don't know, or Nazi.
right, exactly. um, and the way that he plays it's perfection.
Yeah,
Like Barton will be there's this great moments where Barton will be kind of talking to him about whatever, and John Goodman will kind of act like that he doesn't really care what he's listening to,
yeah,
but like still
yeah,
kind of talks to him, tries to connect to him.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So there's
yeah,
all this really weird like intrigue with the character. You ever see we the way that he's introduced
yeah,
is so like nail biting. It is so like you hear this maniacal laughing that just doesn't
yeah.
stop. And Martin just that really iconic shot where he opens the door and he
Looks out,
leans
yeah.
out, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And he calls he calls the Chet, and he's like, "Yeah, dude, this guy's just laughing." And you hear the sound design of this movie, by the way.
Yeah, that's one of the
Holy
other
fuck!
things.
It's so good. It
It
is
really reminds me
so
of
good.
Lynch. That the
Yeah.
sound
Oh yeah.
design really reminds me of Lynch.
Yeah. It's so good. Like every sound is so well like isolated. Like you can hear like I mean that purposely a lot of the sounds in this movie are really, really they sound like that they're happening like right next to a mic.
Yeah, they're
They
really
sound so
exaggerated.
close. And that kind of adds to this like kind of paranoia and
And
like
it's also interesting how like the sounds don't quite match what the source should be. One of my favorite things
yeah.
is the sound of him coming in and out of the hallway into his room.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like
Yeah,
fire is
yeah,
what it
yeah,
sounds
yeah,
like.
yeah.
And
It's
that's
really weird.
really cool.
Yeah, yeah, it is really cool. And but so we hear the phone call, like
Yeah.
John getting the call in the other room, and that amazing just one shot of you watch him kind of
Yeah.
hear him coming down the
Come
hall, and you
around.
see the feet come down
Yeah.
in the door, and he's introduced, and he seems like this extremely nice, lovable guy who just wants to know about Barton and what he's doing.
Yeah.
And in that scene when he comes in, just barges in for a drink or whatever.
Yeah, because he feels bad about disrupting him, which at
Yeah,
first it
right,
seemed like he was about to beat Barton up, but
right,
then he switches personalities and just, I'm so sorry,
right,
drink this whiskey with me.
exactly. and there's that scene has a great kind of idea about Barton's character where John Goodman's asked him like what kind of movies that you make or what kind of
Yeah.
art, what kind of writing do you do? He's like, oh, I write about everyday people like you.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he goes
yeah.
on this kind of tirade about like how much he like respects the middle class and loves the middle class, and but there's a lot of pretension to that, right? Because he's
Yeah.
not really hearing what John Goodman really has to like
Yeah.
say, or
I
he's
mean,
more
he's
interested in
literally, yeah, and his ideas about the common class, because
yeah,
he's literally interrupting John Goodman to say, "Well, I have stories I could tell you," and
exactly.
he's interrupting him with his ideas about like
Yeah,
the kind
not
of person you are, your struggles that you have.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, rather than not listening to the
Yes,
stories
yes,
that he actually has.
yes,
Um,
yes.
and so that's one of the most interesting aspects of Barton's character is that he doesn't like he doesn't know how to write a a wrestling movie because he doesn't know anything about wrestling or he doesn't know anything about this world.
Yeah,
Um, and so that scene is so bizarre because it's like,
yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah.
it's just like just gets up and leaves, and so yeah, like what you're saying is throughout the movie, John Goodman kind of comes in and he's the only and whatever the girl's name is,
Audrey.
Audrey, yeah, um, that that kind of connect with Barton on a personal level,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
I think I think what's also really cool about that is how we were talking about this is a point that was made in that article that I actually agitated me a little bit, but he made a really good point where he was saying how everyone's an asshole except for Charlie's character. Like Charlie's character, although he's a
yeah,
little bit, he's a little bit annoying, he's a little bit gregarious and he interrupts you, but he's
and he's a
genuinely,
murderer.
yeah, but like he's the
Yeah,
one guy who's also just kind of like, well, he's a little bit stupid, but he's lovable,
yeah,
and you
absolutely,
love
yeah,
him, and it
right,
seems like he really cares about Barton. And
yeah,
it's this really interesting twist where what happens is, um, I really want to talk about the drunk writer character, because his scenes were
yeah,
probably my
yeah,
favorite. Just they were
yeah,
so funny.
yeah,
They were so funny.
yeah.
But there's this drunk.
Honey, where's my honey?
There's this so just a detour before we talk about like we'll talk about the drunk writer, and then we'll talk about the big like switch to the murder stuff and the really surreal
Yeah, the
ending
whole
of the movie.
FBI, the
Yeah,
whole
yeah, yeah,
FBI
yeah.
aspect, yeah,
So the important other character to introduce, which the side characters of the producers are important, but it kind of turns into a subplot almost. That's another great thing about Coen Brothers movies, is that you have the main plot and then it sort of gets overthrown by the subplots
hmm
sometimes, and it's a
yeah,
switching. And that's what happens with this, because Barton early on, who doesn't fucking know how to write a wrestling movie, is struggling to come up with something, and his producers, who's an asshole and doesn't know anything about writing stuff and doesn't have any sympathy
right,
for his writer's block, just said, just
right,
write the fucking thing,
right,
and we can get through this.
yeah.
And he
You
says,
got
go
Martin
talk.
Big Feeling.
Yeah. So he ends up finding this writer who is one of his favorite writers, coincidentally.
Yeah,
And it
right.
turns out he's like this raging drunk. But when he first meets him, he says, I'm
I
busy
have
drinking.
dabbled in the wrestling form.
Yeah, because he meets this writer when he's vomiting copious amounts of vomit,
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. And he's
and
still
he
drinking, still
he's
taking
still
giant
drinking.
gulp of the flask.
And he
Yeah,
tells him to come by later. And there's
yeah,
this amazing scene that's great with sound design, where he comes up and knocks on his bungalow,
yes,
self-described by the writer,
yeah, yeah.
and his secretary, or his mistress,
Audrey, great
Audrey.
performance.
Yeah, I love her
Yeah,
performance. opens the door, and Barton's immediately infatuated because he's a scumbag.
Yeah.
And you hear the raging of this hilarious drunken raging of this man going on in the background. You don't know what he's doing. It's so crazy.
Right.
But then there's this important subplot where
honey, bring me my honey.
Barton becomes obsessed with this woman and trying to help him and save him from the stuff, and that kind of distracts him from, well, I don't know, it becomes another important side effect of it. Right. Anyways, at one point he gets Audrey to come to his room when he's in really big writer's block, and he learns that she's basically been writing. Which is a really common thing to happen for famous male writers. Is that they're usually their wives,
especially in that era.
Yeah. FDR is another great example. There's a lot of theories that his wife was really the person doing it.
There's a whole theory that Shakespeare didn't write his shit.
I know. It's like people. Is why sexism is so stupid, because they're like, well, why haven't women written anything great? It's just like they just couldn't do it because they've been women. No one wanted to believe that it was a woman who did it.
Right.
Anyways, after this happens, they end up having sex, which is mysterious.
Dude, that's like another super freaky moment.
Yeah.
When they're having sex and the camera decides to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And go down a drain.
Yeah.
With the moaning sound kind of like being like bellowed into the background.
That reverberated,
I mean, that's one of the most fascinating things.
Which makes me think about the moment when Barton was listening to his door and listening to the couple next door having sex, or which was sex, assumedly sex,
whatever,
but also sounded like abuse, which is kind of an interesting blending.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it could be abuse or sex, because then Charlie next door says he could also hear it, but he's 2 doors away, and he says he can hear it because of the pipes. But it's interesting because it's like, oh my God,
well, actually, I didn't even think of that. That's really, really trippy.
So it's like, is
he? Whoa. Yeah, that's really trippy. I didn't even think of that.
So that was
to
like,
me, that was just kind of the, because actually I do, and kind of one of those people that kind of thinks about kind of the hell situation of this movie, and
which we'll get to that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of connections to that. I think that Barton sold his soul to Hollywood, or the devil, when he signed off the into the hotel. He signed his soul to the literal devil.
Sure,
write the script. But to me, that imagery was just even going deeper down into this hellish world. Because after that, she wakes up dead, and the whole murder thing happens.
The whole second act kind of happens. And I think that's really when the hell theme started, because it was at that point. I think a lot of people talk about, like, one of the theories is just that, it's all in Fink's head, which I just generally tend to try.
I don't like that.
I always try to make it so a movie's not like that, because I'm just so tired of it.
Well, I think the idea of that is like, it stems from something like Fight Club, which is a fantastic. I love Fight Club as much as the next guy.
Yeah,
but I think this movie doesn't tell you anything. I think it's just like, that's just what you assume when you think. And it's like, why can't this movie exist in a surreal world?
Exactly. And I think the distinction is that at that point, like that midpoint, is when we transition from things that are very comfortably real to
like
unsure of reality at that point.
Yeah, right.
And it kind of becomes along the line where, even though Barton's an asshole, he's a reliable narrator. But after that, it's like, you don't know what's true anymore.
Right.
You don't know what's real. You don't know what's happening.
I mean, the last shot is extremely indicative of that.
Right.
This is one of my favorite last shots, period, of the movie. But
me too. Yeah. Which the last shot is, there's this theme throughout the movie. Motif, I guess it's more of a
motif
motif.
for sure. Yeah.
Where Barton has this picture of this girl on the beach, and he always looks up to it, and you have this moment where it's like this musical scene where usually it tracks in on it and then tracks in on Barton, or tracks in then on the paper. Something happens. Usually it's always like this transition
There's this
moment
really interesting motif through where there's a fixation on like whatever he's looking at. So there's a great scene where he's looking up at the ceiling when he's
right,
and it goes into the ceiling, and then the wallpaper, and then the painting that you're talking about. So it's like this extreme fixation on whatever's in front of him almost.
Right, which is both a really surreal thing and also a great depiction of what actually happens when you are anxious about
it's
your
like
work and stuff.
Exactly,
and that's what you do, and it's just like, what if you space out into like the infinite universe? It's kind of is what it feels like. But the last shot of this movie is just Barton puts himself in the beach at the beach, and you don't really know what's happening, but what happens is that he sees a girl on the beach, and it's kind of this weird interaction, and it doesn't really make sense. And oh god, it's such a great ending to like the movie.
It is a fantastic, brilliant, one of my favorite endings ever to a movie. Like, I'm straight up like, first I saw it, I was like, that is one of the trippiest things I've ever seen, because it's such a, like, you know, the Coens are known for endings, right? They're the endings to their films are so bizarre. They're bizarre. The only one, like Raising Arizona, is the only one that I remember when we watched it.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's like the only one that like kind of like has a like an ending, like a conclusive like bookend ending.
Well, what they like to do is they don't like to give resolutions very much. Raising Arizona is one of the few examples.
They did like thematic resolutions.
Yes, exactly. And the thing that I think is great about that is that they just trust their imagery enough to do the rest of the work, like in the people, which I think it does. I think it most of the time it successfully nails it every time.
When I watched it again this time when it ends, it's like, that is one of the coolest mind fuck, because what the last shot is, it is extremely reminiscent. It is exactly the same composition and everything of the painting that he's been looking at. When he's writing this this script. And it's so, like, it's one of those things where I don't even know how to feel when I see that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And that is one of the best things. Like, I have such a, like, reaction to it that, because they trust their imagery enough where the audience will get that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. The audience is going to be like...
It reminds me of the ending of I'm Thinking of Ending Things as well.
Yeah,
it's sort of like that final shot.
Yeah.
Which I love that bravery in telling stories. Because what you're always told, which I think this is a really dated mindset, is that like a story has to lead to one meaning. And when you get to the end of the movie, you have to get it. But I just think that you can do so much more with that. And I love that. I love that feeling that you're describing, because I felt the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Like, you see this image and it's like, I have no idea what I'm feeling, but I just feel like this is right. And I love that. I love that.
It's really, it conjures up so many thoughts and opinions about what they were trying to do. Like, what did they mean by that? You know, like, it's so, I love it. Even the dialogue that they have, where it's like, what's in the box? Like, what do you, like, doesn't she ask her, like, what do you write or something?
Yeah, I think she asks, what's in the box? Well, I think she asks, is it for you? And what's in the box?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And he almost, and then that image, he just kind of like, I mean, it's so it's so bizarre, dude. It's such a bizarre ending. Like,
Yeah.
because you kind of get this resolution of like that he's almost like content
Yeah.
with disappointment, because what happens before that is that he, he turns in his script and he thinks it's the best thing he's ever written
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
his whole career. He might have risked his parents getting killed
Yeah. Yeah.
and to do this, and then he finally, and then the writer's like, "This is bullshit. This is garbage. You
Yeah.
know, this doesn't mean anything. This doesn't have that Barton Fink feeling."
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and and so he goes to the beach, and there's this. It's that moment. It's this
Yeah.
weird
Yeah.
moment.
Well, as you're talking about this, my brain's going in this direction because what I love about that situation that he got in with that incredible movie producer who had been that actor before, but he
Oh,
was so
Lipnick.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he was
amazing.
so good.
He's so good at this movie.
But in that scene, what basically happens, as you described, is a fate worse than death because he doesn't just get fired. He gets because the guy then says, I'm going to
Yeah,
not release this and then
right.
make you continue to write shit and all of it's going to belong to me
Yeah, right,
forever." And
right.
that's like, and so like the ending is like it's like him zoning out forever. He's
It's like he
zoned out
sold.
so.
Yeah, he sold his soul to Hollywood.
Yeah, and
You
now
know,
he's just zoned his way literally into the painting that he's
right.
always zoning out from in front of
Yeah,
his desk.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, as he's going through this same process over and over again.
yeah.
Like, I
It's,
love that.
it's so cool. It's so cool, but I can totally see an audience member being like,
What the fuck?
"What? Yeah, like
Why?
what?" I mean, like, I love Coen Brothers. Like, I love their endings so much. Like, but this one is one of their weirdest. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
it is like
Have I've seen.
because it is just so like you really don't know what to think. But I
Yeah.
think what you just described, I think that's a great kind of interpretation of what this ending kind of is. It's him
Yeah.
just spacing out and him just
Yeah.
because look
Yeah.
at the cover. This is him. He has no idea what's going on. You know, he
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
no clue.
Bewilderment. Bewilderment.
Bewilderment, no clue.
Yeah.
And he's upset because he just told him he's gonna write things that
Garbage
don't mean anything
forever.
to him for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to talk about the scene where Charlie comes back.
Oh yeah, that's like the scene, the
Yeah.
iconic scene
Yeah.
in this movie. Um,
We just to for some setup, we learn after Audrey is mysteriously killed and Charlie helps Barton cover it up because you of course can't
yeah,
call the police.
yeah, right,
um and Charlie goes away to New York, actually, where he might have killed Barton's family.
right, yeah,
um and the FBI agents come in and they inform Barton that Charlie is actually a serial killer who likes to shoot women in the gut with a shotgun and then
right,
chop off their heads. And
yeah,
Charlie has conveniently just left Barton with the box
right,
that is very Seven-esque head
yeah,
shape.
right, yeah,
Um,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and
What's in the fucking box?
and that's the
Seven didn't come
box.
out by Seven came out like 5 years after this movie.
Dude, then maybe they saw that. Maybe David Fincher
Maybe,
was
yeah,
like,
maybe David Fincher was like,
"Ooh,
"Oh, that's a new
head in a
head and
box."
box." What's in the
um,
fucking box?
yeah, but
You should do
that's just
Seven at
another.
some point. That's a great movie.
I love that movie. I would love
Oh
to talk
yeah,
about Seven. But yeah. So then we have the setup where these police officers come and talk to him about it. And after that encounter, they come back again, and I think they just try to frame Barton
yeah,
or say he's an accomplice of
yeah.
Charlie, and then it gets so weird because they
So
come
weird.
out and the floor starts getting really hot,
Yep.
and you see fire coming up from the elevator, and they say, "Mutt," which is his actual name, "Mutt, come out, Mutt." and then everything just catches on fire. It's
Yeah,
so
it's almost
crazy
like
after that.
he's covering. That's where I think that he kind of turns into Lucifer. He
Yeah,
comes
right.
back as the devil almost because of um and yeah he kills the FBI agents and he yeah so bizarre and as
Yeah.
he's I don't know like the shot is so cool. He's running down the hall and the walls are catching on fire as he's running
Yeah.
by. So dope, so cool.
Yeah.
It's cool,
And
so cool looking.
I almost feel like I mean Lucifer with the fire and stuff that makes sense, but it almost feels like um a retribution, an angel of retribution is almost what it seems like, because
Sure.
after he has this encounter where Charlie shotguns both of the police detectives,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
he talks to Barton and basically says that he was talking to Barton to help him, like he picked
Right.
him out to
Yeah.
save him in like this disturbed kind of way, which is just like such an interesting. I bet it also ties into life insurance somehow, because that's what Charlie's vocation
Yeah,
is
that's right.
along those
Yeah. Yeah,
lines.
that's right. Yeah.
And it's like this, it's along the lines of because what's funny is that after another thing that he says is that it's really Charlie's motivation and help that actually gets Barton to finally write his masterpiece.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
right before he leaves, he says, "Don't worry, by the time I'm back, your screenplay is going to be done." And
Right.
it's done by the
Yeah.
time he's
Right.
back.
Yeah.
He finished the
Exactly.
screenplay.
Yeah.
So and so that's kind of like the soldier sold to your devil, to the
Yeah. Right.
devil kind of thing,
Yeah.
or just some, I don't know. And it was just so. And another thing that was so weird, in addition to all the fire and him pulling out a shotgun and killing everybody and saying Heil Hitler, which I
Yes.
don't understand
Yes.
that,
Yeah. That's
which
one of the
is
biggest question marks for me is why does he say that?
why does
Yeah.
it's like, it's funny, it made me laugh, but it
It's
was
hilarious. But I think it might be connection to that he is a demon of some sort. You know,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, yeah,
I also saw it as like,
that's a head
if
scratcher.
Barton Fink is really, after Audrey dies, if he's really lost his grasp of reality, then maybe he's imagining these characters as the epitome of evil, which the
Sure.
epitome of evil is depicted
Yeah,
as with
right.
fire and with Nazism.
Yeah, yeah,
So
right.
like that's like the epitome. We know that. We've talked about
Yeah,
Nazism being the representation of what evil is before,
right.
right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
Vader being a Nazi, all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
yeah.
So in a way, I could also see it as just being, you know, if we're just seeing it from Barton's perspective, or in this weird reality where we're just living in these exaggerations now, where that he would just be a Nazi as well, just on top of
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
I
that's
don't know
very
if I
true.
could, dude.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just
yeah,
it's very weird.
yeah. I mean, those are all, yeah, those are all super valid, you know? I think that's really good looking at it. I mean, like, it's just one of those things, though, it's like, there's no right answer. I mean, there's literally, it's just, Coens are so good at shit like this, where they like No Country
Yeah,
for Old Men is another great example of where they kind of show you these character moments, they kind of give you these things, and they let the
yeah,
audience interpret it, and they let the audience kind of uh, they don't tell you what to think, they don't
yeah,
tell you
yeah,
what to feel or what to think. They
yeah,
kind of show you these images, these characters, and they're like, figure it out.
yeah,
What does this
yeah,
mean to you? It means something to us, but what does it mean to you? And we're not going to tell
yeah,
you what it is. And
yeah.
that's the
I love
beauty
that.
of shit,
I
man.
love that.
That is why the Coen brothers are some of the greatest filmmakers we have ever seen.
Yeah,
You know, it's like not like it's just annoying when people are like, if they see this movie, they're like, I don't get it. They write it off. And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, dude,
Right,
it's
right.
like, bro, like that's not what. Why do you think The Shining is a movie that's still talk about to this day when it came out
Yeah,
40 years ago? These are the movies
yeah,
that will last. They
yeah,
will last. Immediate things fade away.
yeah,
I'm not saying those are bad movies. I'm just saying they fade away. Avengers
yeah,
Endgame much as you love it, it's gonna fade away.
Yeah.
No one's
It's
gonna
more.
remember it at some point.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing talking about these, and I think that I think there's definitely an interesting sort of binary going on here, which I like to use the word immediate, which
Yeah,
is like the immediate gratification versus I don't know a good word for it, but it's that it's more of like the I don't know, it's like planting a seed. It's the depth based thing
yeah.
where it's just talking about what's coming down to is what movies are going to be watched, which movies are going to be
Well, I
watched,
mean,
and I'm
we just
thinking,
look at history. I mean, we just
right,
look at
right, right,
history, like,
right,
and how the movies that have been like remembered as some of the greatest works are films that like are timeless. That like this movie is timeless. That
yeah,
like you don't have to have been around in the '90s to get it.
yeah,
But but a
exactly,
movie
exactly.
but a movie like I don't know, like oh, I don't know, I mean
Yeah, like, do you,
2012.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
no one
exactly,
ever
exactly.
dude, that movie was dated in 2013.
Yeah, right, right.
Because the world didn't end in 2012.
Yeah, and it's
So
kind
the
of
whole
it's.
tension of the movie is completely sucked away. That is one of the dumbest movies
That's a
I
great
have
point.
ever like. Oh, hey, club. Um,
Hello,
how would it go?
puppy.
But one of the dumbest ideas for a movie like I maybe ever
Yeah,
seen.
yeah.
Anyway, but you know
It
what I
really.
mean?
Yeah, no, dude, and I think along the lines, the films that make an impact is that formula films are always successful in the immediate moment. There's
I'm
the
not saying
immediate,
I love. Hey,
but
listen. Men in
yeah, no,
Black,
I
one
no,
of my
I hear you,
favorite
dude.
films ever.
I
But
fucking I
it's
hear the
not
shit out of
pondering
you.
life.
Yeah, but we're talking about the things that are sort of like the groundbreaking, the ball
Yeah,
busters that
absolutely.
go
Yeah,
into that.
yeah, right,
And the
right.
two things you got about this is movies like this, which just sort of invent a new way to do things.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get films kind of like maybe Die Hard or something like that just do a formula so fucking well that
Oh yeah.
they bust it wide open
Oh
to
yeah.
perfection of the
Oh
formula.
yeah. Of course.
So it's kind of but it's rarer. It's more often that we get progress through people perfecting formulas than we get it when we have these visionaries like the Coen brothers who
Yeah,
are just
right.
like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a movie that no one else can make,
I mean
and
that's
no
why.
one else ever
I mean
will.
that's why on this podcast we always toot the horn of Robert Eggers
Yeah,
or Denny Villeneuve, the guy
yeah,
who
yeah, yeah,
he's making he's awesome because he's this visionary that's making giant movies. That
yeah, yeah,
like so we always need people like that. Always
yeah,
need people like that. The Coens, they're still around, baby. They're
yeah,
still making
yeah.
movies. I mean,
Oh,
they're still making great movies. You
here's some
know?
news, just which I think we should wrap up pretty soon because I think we covered most of
Yeah,
this. But
absolutely, dude.
here's some news that I forgot to mention at the beginning. But I read that obviously Wes Anderson, and about the
Huh?
French, about the French Dispatch, which
Yes,
got
yeah, yeah,
pushed.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did you see that he's making another movie? He's starting
Right
production on
now?
another movie. Yeah,
Wow, that's crazy.
which this article
That's
I
so
read,
funny.
which is theorizing that because of that, we're going to get back-to-back Wes Anderson
Can you
movies.
imagine, dude? That'd be crazy.
I
That'd be
know.
crazy. Like it would, like Fresh Impact will come out in 2021, and
Yeah.
um,
Whatever
then
movie
in
he's making comes into.
2022.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. That
Yeah.
would be so awesome. I would be so happy.
Which I don't know. Maybe the other thing that could happen if things are really fucking crazy still, we still get like no movies and he delays it indefinitely past
Right?
2021 and we get two Wes Anderson movies in 2022.
Wow, that'd be so much fun.
Which is like it's because of how crazy the world is right now.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's impossible. Like I
I
think that's an
know.
option.
I don't know what. Oh, dude, this is the only thing I'll say about movies and theaters right now. I was watching the basketball game the other night,
Yeah.
and this shit made me laugh so hard. So it's harder than it probably should have. When a trailer for Tenet came up, And it
Yeah.
was like the #1 movie in the world. I was like, it is the only movie in the world.
You're
I
comparing to
cannot
Trolls
believe
2?
that they literally were like, it's the #1 movie in theaters. I'm like, bro, it's the only movie in theaters. I was like, I could not believe that they put that. It was so like tone deaf, like what was going on in the world. Like, you guys are like, come on, like, what are you doing?
That's
But,
really funny.
yeah, and it's also like fucking America is a bunch of fucking R-worded people. But
Yeah.
like Warner
Yeah.
Brothers was literally like, theaters are back open. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
like don't do this to people.
Yeah.
It's like, go see Tenet, go see our movie, go get COVID while you're doing it.
Yeah, this is how we're going
Wow.
to not have movies in 2022. This is how it's going to be.
I know it sucks, but I mean, I'm just hoping that like they'll take the plunge and Netflix or something will buy the French Dispatch for a lot of money and
Dude,
sell it to us.
it's one of
Like,
these
hold
companies.
on,
All like, dude,
Cliff, get out of here, get out of here. Like, Cliff, what are you doing?
is you see under your desk?
Yeah. Oh, you're stepping on. Hello.
Oh, we're cutting out of the pot. Yeah, I can hear you still. I can hear
Okay,
you
cool.
still.
All right, club. um, but yeah, no, I mean, I don't know what the future of theaters is, my man. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, I feel like all
Apparently,
the
apparently, No Time to Die is going to come out in November. I
Oh, really?
don't know. I don't know, man. That's what it says. That's what the rumor is, but who the fuck knows?
Yeah, really. Yeah,
I just,
seriously.
I just, what? Remember A Quiet Place 2?
Yeah, what happened to that movie? Remember Black
Oh,
Widow?
yeah, well, they came out, the next coming out in May 2021.
Oh, okay.
I think I
There's
think
nothing.
I think
There's
it'll
no
come out by
announce.
May 21, but
That's possible.
2021.
They're not. They didn't even announce anything for Quiet Place 2. It's just gone. It really is just gone.
Well, yeah, I mean that movie's like done. That was about to come out when the pandy hit. Like
Yeah.
literally the weekend the pandy hit,
Yeah,
basically.
it's super done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like I don't know. I mean it's hard because they want to make money. You know, the studios cost a lot of money to make these movies. You want to make money,
Yeah.
and it's still a risk to put movies on VOD because like it's hard.
Yeah.
It's like it sucks because I want to see these. I want to see that movie, man. I want to see Quiet
I
Place 2.
know.
I
I
want to see
know.
French
I know.
Dispatch. I want to see like Black Widow. You know, I want to see these movies.
Yeah, dude.
It's like, come on, America, get your shit together. I want to see these films.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And it's just
um,
hard to say when it's all going to be back up and running. It's
so
not
weird.
looking like anytime soon.
No, not at all. But definitely not. If you want my guess, I think March 2021. I think a full
March.
year. I think a full year is what everything's gonna be like. Okay,
Can you believe
I'm
that we
not
still
holding.
have
No,
3 more
no,
whole months of 2020?
no. I'm just hoping that nothing horrible happens.
Yeah,
I want it to be over.
I
Fuck
know.
2020, man.
At this rate, we shouldn't even talk about it. I don't want
No,
to. I don't want to jinx any. I just don't want any part in any of this bad juju of
yeah.
this year.
I'm just starting to just realize, like, well, okay, my life has to continue, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna try to figure out a way to navigate this fucking thing.
yeah,
Well, I can't, like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
This is it. I can't make other people not be R-worded, you know.
yeah,
So I'm just gonna try to navigate it myself and just try
yeah.
to live a
Yeah,
fun life.
this is a quote from my buddy Johnny told me this when he went to a jazz talk where there was this famous bassist who was giving critiques and just talking about being a famous jazz musician, generally just being really sick. And one of the questions, I don't know if Johnny asked this question or if someone else in the crowd asked it, but they asked, what the fuck do you do when you're playing with people who don't know what the fuck's going on, like are out of tune or
Right.
completely in the wrong part of the
Yeah.
piece? What do you do? It's like, how do you fix it? And he says, man, you just got to keep grooving as hard as you can. You
Gotta
know,
keep
so it's like
grooving, man.
when
Yeah.
you know what you're doing, and it's like, well, I know the part. You just play the right thing, and you continue playing the right thing. Which, you
Yeah.
know, it's hard to say exactly what the right thing in this country is, and you can't say what's good for the country or good for the majority of people, but you can say what's grooving for you personally.
What's
And
grooving,
I say,
dude? What
right
is
now,
grooving, dude?
we just gotta groove.
What is grooving, dude? Exactly. You gotta keep on grooving, keep on grooving, keep on grooving. It's so funny, man. As Bruce Campbell, the Evil Dead would say,
Yeah.
groovy.
Groovy.
All right,
Well,
everybody.
this is
I think this is it for episode 70.
yeah, dude. This was Thick. We're you ready?
Thick. Oh, Barton Fink is absolutely
Absolute
thick
thick
and
and
butter
butter approved.
approved. Oh, that was good. Good job.
That was really good. That might have been our best one.
It's definitely thick and butter approved. Watch the Coen Brothers'
So
whole fucking
amazing.
goddamn filmography. Just fucking
Yeah.
watch it. Just sit down and watch it all.
Yeah.
You'll definitely like a couple of them.
Yeah. At
Maybe
least
all
a
of them.
couple. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
only I haven't seen all of them, but there's
Yeah.
only one or two that I don't like. And they
Yeah.
have like probably like 20, 30 movies. So
Eva's the most like
15 movies.
is the
And they don't have
most
30 movies.
Eva is the most picky movie watcher I know, and
Uh-huh.
she has had a better track record with the Coen brothers than any other thing I've shown her.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. The Coen Brothers, American heroes, baby.
Yeah.
And we love them.
Yeah.
So episode 70. All right. Do you want to reveal what episode
Yeah.
71 is going to be?
Yeah. 71 is going to be our entrance into October, which is going to be our spooky month.
Spooky month.
And we're going to do another cool special
We should probably
episode.
make an Instagram post about that. By the way.
Yeah, about spooky month. Yeah. And what we're going to do this next time is we're going to visit both of one of our shared favorite franchises,
Yeah.
Alien,
Alien.
which is a spotty franchise,
Absolutely.
but man, it has some really good movies in it. So
Absolutely.
some of the most iconic of all time. So we're going to talk about all of them. We're gonna do a retrospective similar to how we did with Tarantino. We're going to go through them all, talk about them all, say which one's our favorite, say which ones we wish didn't exist.
Right.
And
if you don't know what Alien is, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my Alien poster right here on my wall. So.
Yeah.
Maybe not fuck you.
No, dude, I doubled down on that. Definitely fuck you. You have to know. It's it's part of being a human. You have to know what Alien is.
If you don't know what Chud is, CHUD, mega fuck you.
Do you know what that stands for?
Pumpkinhead? No, I don't know what Chud is.
I don't know what Chud stands for.
I've never seen Chud.
I've seen Pumpkinhead, but I have not seen Chud.
You've seen Pumpkinhead?
I just watched Pumpkinhead. I just watched it. It's really bad.
Well, I mean, it's like famously like
really bad.
But isn't the creature kind of cool looking?
The cool thing about the creature is that it's one of the most sadistic creatures that I've ever seen depicted, and that's like really interesting. The story's not that bad; is pretty bad, but like
a slasher movie, like what?
Yeah, it's a guy's kid dies, and a bunch of teenagers kill a kid in a biking accident, and the dad gets mopey, and he goes to a witch. Which the witch scenes are kind of okay, but yeah, he goes to like a real ass witch that's in this
the woods.
In the woods, yeah.
Could he follow Trail Candy to get there?
Dude, it would have been better. He just drove in there and found her, and I'm like, that's basically what it is.
Does she look like does she look like a witch? Like,
yeah, dude, she looks like a real the most witchy hocus pocus fucking witch you've ever seen.
Pocus. Your hocus pocus looking ass.
And he summons Pumpkinhead to go and kill all these kids. There's
Really? Oh my
definitely
god, that's fucked up, dude.
there's definitely qualities about it which are
That's
kind of
cool
cool and
idea.
unique. Yeah,
There's themes of revenge.
yeah. The problem in it is that all the people really
Why
suck.
Pumpkinhead though? Does he like look like a pumpkin? You know, like why Pumpkinhead?
His head doesn't even look like a pumpkin. The only reason is that he's in a pumpkin patch. That's it. That's it.
Oh.
Because with the way that he
But
finds
yeah,
him,
Pumpkinhead's like
yeah,
that insinuates he's trying to hell a pumpkin.
he
I'm
doesn't though.
thinking
He
I'm
looks
thinking
like
the
an
headless
alien.
horseman shit.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. He just looks like a ripoff of the xenomorph. And the only thing that connects him to Pumpkin at all is, which he looks cool because xenomorphs looks cool, but he's just a beige xenomorph. And and the way they discover Pumpkinhead is that the man whose kid died had to go to a pumpkin patch, which this raised platform in the middle of this pumpkin patch, and dig up this fetus looking thing that's ginormous and take it back to the witch who did some voodoo on it, and then it birthed Pumpkinhead.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's not good.
We should have just called him like Pumpkin Man.
Beige guy.
Pumpkin Man.
Pumpkin Man. Pumpkin Man.
Because in that way, I mean, it's still a dumb name, but you don't steer people wrong, you know? Because,
I know.
you know, like Pumpkinhead, he doesn't have a Pumpkinhead. All right?
There's not even any iconic pumpkin imagery in this film.
What the fuck?
Not a single pumpkin. Yeah.
What are you doing, dude?
There's not even head themology.
It doesn't even have Pumpkinhead. I imagine it would start like Alien or fucking Alien. Halloween with the pumpkin rotting or something. Doesn't even have that.
No,
what the hell?
No. And the other really weird thing, is that this is like set in the 70s or something, and the kids look like I have no idea. The kids 70s, I think it was made at the end of this monster movie like slasher craze. And all the kids look like they're from the 70s, but all of like the country people look like fucking Pilgrim from the Witch, like the Robert Edgar movies. And it's such a terrible they're literally wearing potato sacks. It's it's pretty funny. Anyways, this is about Pumpkinhead. We have to go. We have to get out of here.
All right, episode 70. Follow us. Subscribe. Barton Fink.
Happy anniversary!
Happy anniversary. This is our 2-year anniversary. 70
Congratulations.
11 episodes. Hot mother damn.
Congratulations to us. I'm proud of us.
Here's 70 more.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, man. It's been real. Nice talking to you.
You too, buddy.
It's like we don't talk a lot.
No.
All right, everybody. Bye-bye.